Friday Junior. Of course, Liz's internet just pieced the F out on me. This is ridiculous yet hilarious that this happens pretty much every time Liz and I are on a Google Meet together. So we'll see if she rolls back in here. But today we are going over snacking versus grazing. This is a topic that Liz wanted to talk about. And I think that Liz is the perfect person to talk about snacking versus grazing. I was just telling them how this happens literally every time you and I are on a Google Meet together. The good news is it doesn't happen when she's like on a meeting with her clients. It's just me. So I'm not going to be offended by it by any means, but at least I know how to just roll with it. So anyways, yes, welcome back, Liz.
Yeah. It's funny, but we had a meeting and it kept doing it. So I switched to my phone. Then not had a meeting, and one meeting started really late, and then we were going way over time, and it just cut out. And I'm all, this is a sign. Hold your boundaries.
There you go. There you go. So that's a reminder too. For those of you who do have meetings with Liz and I, because you're one of our one-on-one clients or something, we just need to chill. There's a reason we book these out at certain time increments. It's because we all have lives outside of this, right? So anyways, we are talking about snacking versus grazing today. Like I was saying, Liz is perfect for this because I am somebody who I am a bit of a snacker, a bit of a grazer, but for the most part, I like the structure of having meals, full on meals, sit down meals. I want to feel full and satisfied from my meals. So I really what some people might deem really big meals. But anyways, she's the GOAT when it comes to snacking and making it fit into her lifestyle and her health and fitness goals overall. So first off, Liz, talk about the difference between snacking versus grazing. Let's get in with that.
So I think people think that they're the same thing, which they could be, but grazing or picking at things is just eating small bites of multiple random things throughout the day. It's really mindless. They aren't thinking about what they're putting into their mouth. And then guess what? At the end of the day, they don't remember what they ate. They never weighed a single thing. That's, you go into the pantry and you're thinking about something to eat and you go and grab right now, my thing is the pretzels filled with peanut butter. Those are my treat right now.
Stay out of my house. Stay out of my house. Oh, so good.
But that's the difference, is that I don't just go into the cabinet and grab them and snack on them, and they're normally slider-esque foods, things that you could just eat a ton of and never get satiated. So you're never truly full, and you're eating it when you're not really hungry. It's normally cool, you're bored, you're lonely, you are super stressed, you're lacking sleep. Things like that causes us to do those things versus a snack where it's more mindful and intentional. I always tell people, and it's something that I personally do, is I make my snacks look like just a smaller balanced meal. Mm-hmm. I have more awareness when I snack on it. Yes, I 2 seconds ago mentioned I eat the peanut butter stuffed pretzels, but I have apples, turkey, the sliced turkey that you get at Costco. I eat all of that together. So it's a balanced plate. And yes, it's not always out of hunger. Sometimes it's just I'm sitting at my desk and I'm doing client notes, or I'm building content, which content makes me snack the most because it stresses me out.
Yeah, same.
I need something to just kind of keep me more attentive, where when I'm in school and I'm studying, I need these snacks, but I know that 1, I need it to fill me up. 2, I need it to be a little bit more balanced to help with my blood sugar, my satiation, and just even overall digestion of food. So I think that's the 2 biggest differences between them.
Yeah, I would say the things that really stood out to me that you said was mindful versus mindless. It's totally that, right? You're intentionally building this snack. You're saying, hey, I want to have my peanut butter pretzels because they're effing amazing, and nobody's arguing that. But I know that just to have that, it's going to mess with my cravings. It's going to mess with my blood sugar levels. So what are the things that I can complement that with while still enjoying that thing? You're not telling yourself I can't have this. You're saying this is how I'm going to build around it. And so you add in the turkey and the apple or whatever. So this is very much like me with my Oreos, where people are like, what? How can you keep literally over a dozen packages of Oreos in your cupboards at all time? Well, I can because like I don't ever just mindlessly go grab Oreos. I plan it in my Fitness Pal. I structure it into a meal or a mini meal. I actually try to refrain from the word snack because I think that again, there's that mix up that people have of like snacking versus grazing. I refer to my smaller meals as mini meals, and that would be most people's snack or whatever. And still, their snacking is like, oh yeah, I had a couple Oreos for a snack, or oh, I had a piece of toast for a snack or something. It's like, no, like you need other things to complement that. So that's why if I'm having Oreos, they're never by themselves. They're literally like crushed up in my crack bowl, or these days in my creamy, because in those things I'm having plenty of protein from the Greek yogurt, the cottage cheese, the protein powder, whatever it is, and I'm having fiber from usually like berries or something. So again, making it a well-balanced plate, if you will, that fits into the snacking category. So that was the big standout for me that you said there. But yeah.
Like when we're grazing and snacking on things and do see it even said there, when we are grazing on things and not being intentional of what we're having, we end up having so much more food than what we actually think we are, because it's not satiating at all. It literally just slides right through us and we're like, oh cool, like now I want more, and we're not paying attention. So I have something that I always encourage my clients to do when we are, especially when they're newer and they're used to that mindless grazing and stuff, is I'm like, okay, cool, put on a plate what you are wanting, weigh it out, measure it, and if you don't feel like doing that, cool, but I want you to sit there and pay attention to it instead of just mindlessly doing it, instead of scrolling TikTok, instead of, you know, typing out work emails. I want you to pay attention and taste the food. I want you to feel the texture. I want you to taste the taste of it and appreciate it, because one, you're going to want a lot less of it, and you're going to be more present in that time of like eating, and you're like, this is the weirdest thing ever, and then they end up stop doing that. So
yeah, I think so. A couple things, as always. First, it's that appreciating the food, because I think anytime I even hear somebody just like overdoing it, they're like, oh, I just couldn't get enough of the food, it was so good. Nothing ever tastes as good as like the first couple of bites of that food. Like whether you're having ice cream or pizza or pasta or whatever, like nothing really ever tastes as good as those first couple bites where you're like, hell yes, I've been dying for this, it's so good. And maybe it does taste good all the way till the end, but when you're just like shoving it down your throat, you're not paying attention to how it's making you feel in terms of like, if you're feeling euphoric and like excited about it, or if you're feeling enjoyment, or you're feeling even just like satisfaction, satiation, you're not noticing that if you're just like shoving it down your throat, and like chatting with people or scrolling on your phone or watching TV or whatever, which is why I think it's really important that people develop more of that like distraction-free eating. Like I'm notorious for this. I suck at it where I eat at my desk while I'm working and stuff. But again, I've gotten to a place where like I'm not typically overeating, so I trust myself with it a little bit more. But I do notice that when I sit down, I'm just at the dinner table across from my husband. If we can, you know, force ourselves to like not be on our phone and stuff, like it is just a more enjoyable meal. And you do realize like, oh, I'm satisfied and I'm full and I'm good. And yeah, like maybe more of the food would taste good, but I'm good. I don't need more. So yeah.
So your meals are very intentional. Like you don't just grab stuff just for funsies and
No.
stuff. And I think that a lot of people, we're so used to it. We're such a snacky, you know, like I love chips. I love chips. I have 2 bags of chips, and right now, like it's the like popcorners. Those are delicious. I don't know why. That like I could have a ton of them, but like I I have to separate it out and stuff, or have like those individual packages. But I'm so used to, even like when I was bigger and stuff, I would just go and eat like the whole bag every time I walk into the kitchen, or I go to let my dogs out and stuff. And now it's more intentional. I know that I'm snacking and stuff all day long, but it's intentional. I planned it into my day. It's balanced with other things. And the thing that I think that people should reflect on, and even I encourage people to journal about it. Like, hey, like when you did do that, like reflect back, like what one, what caused that? Two, what happened afterwards? Did you have more cravings? Were you satisfied? Did you end up eating a bigger dinner and you ended up being overly stuffed at that point? Like, what were the things that happened afterwards, and how do you feel afterwards? Because, and then the next day they'll end up, pre-planning those snacks, doing those mini meals and throughout the day. And guess what? They don't have the cravings for all this stuff because they plan it into their day. They balance it out with protein, carbs, fat, all the good stuff. And they never overate. They were in that happy medium of, hey, I'm not a 10 out of 10 hungry and I'm not a 10 out of 10 starving. I was able to eat these mini meals, especially because it's water, I feel like. And that's why I like really wanted to do this live for them all. Nobody's wanting to eat big meals. Like across the board on check-ins these last like 2 weeks, they're like, it is way too hot. Like, what do I do? And I'm all snacks, pre-plan your snacks, get little containers, plan it all out, like, and then you're golden.
Yeah. Well, I love that how you talked about like after the fact, like how did that make you feel? And also what actions did it produce? Like, okay, you were grazing essentially, like not snacking, you were grazing all day. Did that lead to you? Because this is what we see. People like, oh no, I swear I only eat 1,200 calories a day and I'm not losing weight. What the hell is going on? The fuck you are. You were grabbing handfuls of pretzels with peanut butter in them. You were grabbing a candy bar at the office candy dish. Like you're just grabbing things throughout the day. And no, bitch, you're eating 2,000 calories a day, which isn't a bad thing by any means, but it is if you only think you're eating 1,200 because that's all you're like tracking in your MyFitnessPal, or that's what you're guessing you're eating. Like, oh no, I know I only eat this much because no. When you're grazing, you're eating tons more calories. So yes, it leads to usually people overdoing it that night at dinner, or it leads to people overdoing it on the weekends after feeling like they were deprived all week because they were never actually satisfied from their meals. But also, how does it make you feel? Like you said, like, did you feel like, I mean, maybe your energy was different after you were having those not well-balanced meals or mini meals or snacks, right? I know if I'm just eating like simply some carbohydrates on their own, or like a blend of like carbs and fats that is more of like a snacky food, we'll call it like pretzels or chips or something like that, I'm still hungry. Like that's not registering with me that I have been satisfied from my food by any means. And I'm usually like, I'd go take a nap right now, or I don't actually have any mental energy to focus on something. And so this also reminded me of like a client that I had. I remember this past spring, she was in a fat loss phase, and there's a big difference, you guys, between being in a fat loss phase and actually like doing the things in a fat loss phase. So we had her calories pretty low. They were like 1,600 or something. And she's like, yeah, I just, I decided I was going to start tracking the little mini candy bars that I was grabbing from the office candy dish. And wouldn't you know it, that 1,600 calories a day that was being guesstimated. Let's also put that caveat in there that she was also eating out multiple times per day. And anytime you're eating out, hi Liz, bye Liz. Anytime you're eating out, those calories are always going to be a guesstimate because you didn't cook and weigh and measure the things yourself. So she was already eating more than the 1,600 calories from that alone. But she realized like several times per week when she was at work, she was grabbing one or two of those pieces of candy, and those 70 calorie pieces of candy for just one add up. If you're doing that multiple times a day, multiple days per week, she was not in a calorie deficit. And that's why she wasn't losing weight. It wasn't because the numbers weren't working. It's because she wasn't hitting the numbers. And with that, I did a little bit of research before this, and when I say research, I Googled in some shit, but I wanted to know like some stats when it comes to like people and snacking and grazing and stuff. And you already touched upon this. The one big thing, negative effects of snacking or grazing on an average person's weight loss goals. Some general stats. Increased caloric intake. So studies have shown that frequent snacking or grazing can lead to higher overall caloric intake throughout the day, which may hinder weight loss progress. So from a study in 2016 from the Journal of Academic of Nutrition and Dietetics, they found that adults who snacked more frequently consumed significantly more calories per day than those who didn't snack as often. So you're just eating more calories per day than you realize. Like it's just happening if you're not intentional, like Liz says she is. She tracks it. She's aware of it. She might be like participating in the snacking culture, if you will, but she's intentional about it.
And again, like there's a huge difference between like my snacking and their snacking. Mine are completely balanced of like, hey, I know this is going to have me feeling full. People are snacking on stuff where you're not feeling full, so then you continue snacking, and then you're hangry, and then it's going to lead to binging and then restricting. And that is the problem, is that you were going to start binging and then restricting the next day and being like, oh my gosh, where did this whole bag of potato chips go? Like, in your stomach, empty slider food calories, like.
Totally. Whereas if you have to like sit down and like it's already portioned out and you're like, yeah, this is dope because like I get to have it every day. So there's no sort of like Last Supper mentality. There's no sort of like, oh, food is scarce. We have an abundance mindset when it comes to food. I feel like you and I, because we know it's not going to run out. We live in this modern world, you guys, where we do not have to worry about food scarcity. We could literally have anything we want, Uber Eats to our doorstep in a matter of moments. So I think that oftentimes that's what runs into people's issues is they're like, oh, well, I just bought this like snacky food from Trader Joe's or Costco or whatever it is. It's like, oh, I have to get as much of it as possible. And it's like, why? Like, can you just plan that out to have it like every day for a week until the thing's gone, rather than thinking that it all needs to be consumed right here, right now? Because like you could go buy it again at the store. I'm not going anywhere.
Yeah, no, exactly. And it's so funny. Like when I eat, even when I eat out and stuff, people always like give me a hard time because like I don't need all of like the random appetizer as stuff. If I'm going out with like a purpose. I want like my main dish, like probably a good drink. Like last night we had a Margarita Wednesday date, which is now just going to be a thing.
I love it.
But like I pre-ate before I left because I wasn't going out for the food or anything because it wasn't like great food. I went there for a margarita, and like I pick and choose what will fill me up. And then also because I pre-ate, like, so it was, don't judge me, it was cookies with rotisserie chicken and carrots and a little piece of cheese.
These are all things I enjoy. There's no judgment. I want all those things in my mouth.
But balance, like it's not like a typical meal that most people would be like, oh yeah, this was dinner. Well, yeah, it was my dinner, but it prevented me from like, when I was at the restaurant, I didn't snack on all the chips. I didn't snack on like stuff afterwards. I wasn't starving afterwards, which led to like more bad decisions and stuff that made me feel gross. Cause you know, like one, I'm in a cut and I need to be more hyper focused and not as much flexibility as before.
Totally. No. And I love that because it's like, this is something I have to remind people of all the time when they're like, well, I'm going out to lunch with a friend or I'm going out for drinks or whatever it is. It's like, yeah. And are they only going to be your friend and only going to have a good time with you if you stuff yourself fucking senseless? Or would it be possible? Would it be possible for you to pre-plan what you're going to eat at the restaurant? Because I bet you already know. I bet you could log that into your MyFitnessPal and plan the rest of the day around it. And then if you didn't want to have anything, because you're like, none of that sounds like anything that's like a hell yes, but I do want to have a couple of cocktails or whatever, cool. Like plan for the cocktails, eat before you go. You're there for the social interaction, for the building of the relationships. You are not there to be like, how many fucking calories can I eat? Like, I think people go into these situations thinking, again, they have to do what they've always done. You can literally change at any given time, right? It's totally possible, you guys.
Oh yeah. Well, it's so off topic of grazing and snacking, but like more situations, you can say no.
Yes.
You 100. I think that everybody just wants to people please and stuff, and absolutely not. And it doesn't always have to be like, I post pictures all the time. Some of my girlfriends will always want to go out for like a drink and dessert, and that's not like my Jiminy Jam like all the time. Like I go to enough concerts. I don't like, I love coffee dates and I love walking. So I will drag my friends and be like, hi, you know, so we have a marina by my house. I'm all, guys, let's meet up Lighthouse Coffee. Let's grab a coffee, or like sometimes there's this like little food truck coffee shop that's around. Let's pick up coffee and then let's walk around the marina a few times, and we're still connecting. We're enjoying getting in some sunshine and stuff. So it's okay to say no, because guess what? Especially if they're like a one-on-one client and they're doing their check-in. I'm like, if you for one instant think that you are going to regret the decisions that you made, why are you doing it?
Yes. Yeah. Exactly.
You're going to feel bad about yourself in 12 hours and 6 hours at the end of the week.
Doing
Don't
your
forget
check-in.
it. Exactly. If it's not a hell yes, then it's a hell no. And I don't care whose feelings you hurt or anything. So
Yeah. And let's just also say that hurting other people's feelings, that's a them problem. That's not a you problem. We're not going to get into that though. I want to rattle off a few more of my statistics and see what other talking points it brings up for us. Because like I said, this doesn't need to be super long, but the second stat we got here is poor food choices. So snacking and grazing habits can lead to the consumption of unhealthy, high calorie, and nutrient poor foods. And so I say this a lot of times. Well, actually, I want to finish. There's a study here and it said snacks contribute to about 27% of the total daily energy intake in the United States, with a significant proportion coming from sugary and fatty snacks. So more than a quarter of your calories are probably coming from snacking and grazing. And I would love for someone to think about that, right? If you're somebody who is eating 2,000 calories a day and 500 of those calories are coming from BLTs, bites, licks, and tastes, and random shit you're grabbing at the office or whatever, that's kind of a problem, right? I think, again, especially if you're in a fat loss phase, you need to be aiming for 80-20. So 80% of your food choices are high quality food choices, your proteins, your plants, your carbohydrates and fats that are promoting you feeling good, performing good, looking good. And if you're somebody who's super lean, or it's a struggle, you're just trying to get the last few pounds off or whatever, you're going to need to aim for more of a 90/10. So looking at 1,800 or more of your calories coming from quality foods and stuff. So I think it's really important to, again, look to see, am I sitting down and being mindful with my food choices? Are they in relation to where I want them to be and everything? Because, and I say this all the time. I'm ain't nobody, except for me, snacking, and people like me, ain't nobody snacking and grazing and stuff, or BLTing things like chicken and strawberries and carrots. I am somebody who does that. I cannot get enough of those foods, but I'm certainly not immune to snacking and grazing on bullshit. And I catch myself doing it. I'm what the fuck are you doing, Crystal? Whereas I know so many other people don't even give it a second thought. They have zero clue that those handfuls of chips or nuts or whatever that they're eating, oh, it's nuts. It's healthy. It's no big deal. Bitch, you just downed 600 calories worth of nuts and you're still hungry. You still need a real meal. All those calories you could have saved for something that actually made you feel full and satisfied. Again, most people are snacking and grazing on bullshit, not quality foods. Would you agree, Liz?
Oh yeah, to 1,000%. Even one of my last nutrition classes that I took, we were talking about how people are always gaining that 10, 15, 20 pounds. And we broke it down into okay, who are these people and stuff? And a lot of them are busy moms, working, grabbing that Starbies on the way to work, because 3 or 4 days a week having, let's just say your average tall beverage with half the amount of sweetener is around 200 to 300 calories. Well, you do that 3 to 4 times a week, not really logging it or anything, because half the time I'll see people, I'm are you drinking black coffee? And they're no, I put creamer in it. And I'm okay, well, all of that counts. And nobody knows what a real tablespoon or teaspoon is. Because I'll see I saw a teaspoon of raspberries the other day.
Jesus Christ.
I'm
no, you didn't. No, you didn't. This person clearly is not following me on social media. No, you didn't.
It cracked me up. But I saw a teaspoon of raspberries, but I'm man, this is truly we're not taught this. But if you do that every single day, let's say, because it's summertime, guess what? Over the summer, you just gained 20 pounds.
So easy. It's so easy, you guys. And when we were talking about, the things that you're snacking on, grazing on, whatever, those things, when I said that data and stuff, they talked about high calorie, nutrient poor foods. They're usually these things that they taste so damn good. That's why it feels like it's hard to stop snacking on them. They taste really good. They're designed by scientists. They spent these companies spend millions of dollars every year on figuring out how to fine tune these foods, or rather food-like products, to make them so that you do not want to stop eating them. That is the goal. That is why brands like Nestle and Hershey's and I don't know, General Mills, that's why those things are multi-million, billion-dollar companies, because they have they've figured out the secret sauce to make it so that you cannot give them up. You just want to keep eating them over and over. They don't come up with slogans like once you pop, you can't stop for no reason, you guys. They've tried to figure it out and they've done it. They've mastered it. So like the less of those overly processed foods you can have in your diet, the better off you're going to be at being more successful. Nobody is getting too fat because they're eating too many carrots, strawberries, spinach, asparagus, chicken, beef. It's not happening. It's all that extra shit that you're adding in. So more single ingredient foods, you guys. Yeah, next up, like impact on portion control. So frequent snacking may make it harder for you to manage portion sizes. Like I just said, once you pop, you can't stop. You might go look at a serving size and it'll say like 12 chips is a serving size, but it is real easy for you to eat 3, 4, 5 times that amount because, again, you're not controlling the portion. You're not being mindful like Liz is, where she's literally weighing it, measuring it, putting it on the plate, being like, cool, I'm going to snack on that later, but it's already measured out. I know what I can have of it within my guidelines.
Mm-hmm. Well, and how many people also, and I've been there multiple times. I've done it recently, but you eat something and then you go past that I'm full point, and then now you're overly stuffed and uncomfortable, and now you're sitting there, you're like, I have all of the regrets.
Yes. And what she said, she's done it recently. Me too. We're not immune to this, even though we know all the fucking shit about it. Even though we can come on here and talk to you about it on Facebook for 30 minutes, it happens to us too. We're certainly not perfect human beings, but we understand it, we recognize it, and we know how to like come out of that situation unscathed, right? We know we're not going to go like run it off with extra cardio or double workouts or any sort of bullshit. We're just like, all right, well, that sucks that I did that. Like, how can I like approach that with a different mindset next time? How can I avoid doing that next time? And, oh, okay, yeah, maybe I should go for a walk just because it's going to make me sort of get rid of that food baby. Not, I'm going to go for a 20-mile run to burn this off, because it doesn't work like that. But yeah.
You don't start with
no.
Don't twice.
Nope, not happen. Next up, disruption of hunger signals. So constant snacking can disrupt the body's natural hunger and satiety signals, making it harder for individuals to recognize true hunger and fullness cues, potentially leading to overeating. So again, you're never feeling satisfied. You're constantly feeling hungry, or sometimes you're never feeling hungry because you never actually give your body that chance to say like, hey, I'm full. I just ate a 600 calorie breakfast. Damn, awesome. I can't wait to eat lunch when I feel hungry again in 4 or 5 hours. Like, you should feel hungry every 4 or 5 hours, you guys. You shouldn't be waking up in the morning not feeling hungry. Hunger is not a bad thing. Any sort of elaboration on hunger, Liz?
So there's so much that goes into it. Like, yeah. I feel like when people are snacking or they're grazing and it's not anything balanced, when you're inhaling the food way too fast. Yeah. So your brain cannot send a signal to, hey, let's create some leptin. This person is eating food, and now let's give them that leptin, which is going to be that satiating hormone. We're not giving our bodies enough time to process it or even digest it. And then by the time it does, we are so uncomfortable.
Yeah.
We are so uncomfortable. And then it just leads us to like overthinking and stuff, which is going to increase our cortisol because now we're stressed out about this. There's just so much about that.
There's so much, you guys, and there's so much. And so honestly, like, those are the first few sort of stats really that I wanted to touch upon on here. Let's be honest, I'll probably come up with like a piece of content or something that sort of outlines that so people can refer back to it in maybe an easier to digest sort of format, whether it's like a Twitter swipe post or whatever. But closing thoughts on snacking versus grazing and how people can integrate snacking into their health, nutrition, weight loss, weight maintenance goals. What you got for us, Liz?
So plan it out. Plan it out. If you know that you're in a season of your life where you can't sit down, or like, for example, I have a ton of super busy moms that are like, Liz, sitting down and eating a big meal is not happening right now. Okay, cool. Let's plan out smaller snacks. Let's plan out things that are a little bit more to go, where it has protein, carbs, fats in it, and it's super balanced, just like the way that I talk about it. So take your meals and just make them a mini meal, just like what you call it. Like, just do that. And it doesn't have to be this beautiful, like, oh, I did chicken and broccoli and rice. It does not have to be that. It can be your Oreo cookies with some slices of turkey, or a protein drink and some, strawberries or something. It can be Greek yogurt with some nuts and some granola in it. It can be whatever you want it to be, but make it balanced so that you are full, so that you don't ever go 10 out of 10 in either direction.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. So you guys, that's it. There's good, there's better, there's best. You're going to go through different seasons of life where those things change, right? Maybe right now, if you are one of those busy moms on the go, you're doing all the things, you feel like you don't have 2 seconds to sit down for yourself, let alone 20, 30 minutes to sit down and have a meal. Plan out things that would just make you hit those well-balanced plate opportunities, right? And this is when I have things in grab and go Ziploc baggies, whether it's a grab and go, a serving of pistachios, a serving of, or 2 servings of carrots and whatever other veggies, like things that I can snack on where I don't necessarily have to have a plate. I don't have to warm them up, nothing. Have the grab and go yogurts. I'm somebody who's fucking cheap. I'm not going to buy individual yogurts. I'm going to buy the big thing and I'm going to portion it out into small grab and go dishes. But again, set it up, plan. Weird. That's like our 4-letter word around here. You will not be successful if you do not plan. So it's not that you can't snack and still lose weight, feel great, hit your goals, whatever it is for weight loss or body composition or whatever, you totally can. But in the end, you got to plan. You can't be doing it after the fact. So that's what we got for you today, you guys. I can't remember what next week's topic is. I don't know. You don't need to know right now, but I hope you guys have an amazing Friday, Junior, an awesome weekend. And we will see you back here next Thursday. Same time, same place. Bye.
Bye.